Very good afternoon to you. Welcome to the webinar. My name is Kath, software trainer for NMR. This is InterHerd Plus. So we advertise this quite extensively, mostly through direct email to advisors and a few farmers as well, using InterHerd Plus. It's all about knowing where to look with a lot of these things. That's what the title of this webinar is. So using InterHerd Plus most effectively. I appreciate vets and consultants are very busy people and you don't have a lot of time to quickly make decisions, find what you're looking for and go in, and then you can, use that information to great effect. So with this example database here, this is what we use for vet demo. It's all anonymized, which is quite nice, but it's real farm data. As you come in, most vets have this opening screen, which is your KPIs as a rolling 12-month picture of where this herd sits. And you can drill down much further into, last 3 months. That's what the blue arrow is for as well. And any of these items can be clicked on to view. So I've got a few particular areas I wanted to concentrate on that you might not have seen before. The first bit is the newest bit really, which is the Yoni's benchmarking. So this here, to a certain extent, this has been around for over 10 years now. So this is based on the 500 herd study. So we've gathered 500 herds worth of data. We're able to work out the midpoint, the top 25% and the bottom 25%, and that is what you're compared to on here. So just as a brief overview, that's your target line, and that is the top 25% of those 500 herds put into order for all of these different parameters. And there's lots more detail that can be had from this. So if you want to know a little bit more, or you want a sort of one-to-one training, that kind of thing, I'd be happy to go through any specific points in more detail. And my email address is in the Q&A. So do make contact with me, absolutely fine. So the newest bit takes that a step further. And you'll also notice the absence of Yonis on this particular screen, but we can go into it in a lot more detail.
If we go up to reports, KPIs CF National. Now the Yoni section is here. I'm just going to show you the production, fertility, health. So these relate directly to the other KPIs on your opening screen. And you'll see them all listed here to choose whichever one you like. So let's say we were looking at average cell count. Now I'm in one herd at the moment. And what I have is this herd is me. And these bars are the top 25% again, the median point, and the bottom 25%. So, gives me a clear position of where I sit nationally. And we can look at a progress graph then to see how well I've come along. So comparing to myself over the last 3 years. So actually down a fraction, but already doing really well. Now where this gets really powerful and interesting, if I go into my herd selection, I can then pick any herds I choose. Could be the whole lot, could be individuals that meet a certain group criteria, management style, robots, whatever you want to do. So let's just make it easy for now. I just hold the control key down. I can select like so, and with the control button you can actually go not adjacent to, so you can randomly pick any herds you like. Save that. Now we're back at the start again, but I've got 6 herds selected. So if I go back into my KPIs here, now this may take a little longer to load because it is grabbing data for 6 herds. There we are. Now this is interesting. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 herds. Our average, oh, this is first lactation, sorry. Let's change it to average cells. So our average line has moved up, and we've got a complete range here, top 25% right through to bottom. All the same practice. So from a client vet perspective, we can see where we're all sat right now. If you need to identify the herds, they are anonymous for a reason, but we can grab the data around there and see which herd it is. You've also got various data points here which will identify the premises name. Okay, so my progress graph now has multiple lines on it. So as a collective, we can see with any particular protocols the practice might have introduced or targets or whatever, we can see as a whole, how has this client base improved or otherwise. And then you can just chop and change as you like for all of your different parameters. So making it a fertility project or something like that. You can also change your year. So if you want to look back further, 21 to 25, that kind of range, you can. And we can also look at a progress graph compared to national. So here we've got our herds, again, that's 6 herds together, progress over the last 3 years, top 25%, bottom 25%. So as a little group, we are on the rise ever so slightly. All of these graphs can then be exported in the documents.
Into management reports, herd structure. Now this is really useful for farmers as well as advisors. So we're kind of looking at the herd as a whole, what's been happening, what is our current situation, if you like. So we can maximize this window just to fill it out a little bit more. We've got a cow box, so total number of cows in the herd. So it's a good kind of ready reckoner as well. And total number of heifers and males. So you can start to see various different bits of information just on this one page. So cow-wise, have we got the right number of cows? How are they spread in terms of fertility status? So we've got barren, no heat, not served. And then you can hone in on these particular ones. So if I were to look at total cows with no heat, 83 of those, then your bottom table changes accordingly. So these are the cows in question. So this is a really good starting point from have we got all the information in that we should have? Are we serving cows at the correct opportunity, at the earliest opportunity? This will tell you, and also a sort of data tidy up action, which, if we've got cows that are hanging around that shouldn't be. So we can see days since calving here, and this is the sort order in which it appears. So some of these clearly may not be around anymore, or we may need to, just view these with the farmer, see what's going on there. We've also got no tests, which makes me suspicious that they are still around, because you would normally see evidence of Yoni's testing going on like we have with these ones here. So I suspect there's a few of these that are, need taking out. Anything data quality wise, if NMR can help with you with you on a local level, do get in touch with us as well, because we can certainly periodically or regularly actually we go through what's called herd ancestry reports with farmers, so just to make sure that we have got the right animals. We can do CTS reconciles and all sorts of things like that as well to make sure everything is tidy and accurate for you. So that's a good starting point from which cows are we serving, when are we starting to serve, and you can see then if there's anything from that sort of 42-day point onwards on there. Heifers equally, we can have a look at the heifer table, and these ones are kept quite small on this particular grid. So this is a grid or a table, but you have got the opportunity, if I right click on the header anywhere, I can actually edit grid layout. So if there's something else you desperately need to see, there's lots and lots of information in here, but it's probably easier to start with small and grow. So you can add in, various bits and pieces about those animals to see what's going on. For example, damn Yoni's status, that might be a really nice one to view. Just tick the box, save, press enter, and that's now there forevermore for this particular herd. So you can create templates as well. That's probably a sort of part 2 version. And then you've got that template available for any herd within your database to apply. So heifers by a certain age. So this is also really useful for when you're starting to look at breeding, and any heifers that haven't been served that are over 2 years old, for example. We can get to that list really quickly. So those are all not served. We've got one beef animal sneaking in there anyway, so it gives you an idea of actually those, yes, are quite possibly not here now either. Okay. As with all these things, if I go back to the cows, the Yoni's is very much at the forefront, so automatically we've got the cow Yoni status showing in here. and the dam and her yoni status on there as well. There's various ways to do these sorts of things, but you can, if you wanted to, filter out anything that you want to see. So rather than looking at 296 cows, we may want to narrow it down a little bit to see what's going on. So a lot of these filters, so this white strip, this empty row, if you like, is on most grids. So you can do this anywhere. This one actually has a drop down. So I can untick all and maybe concentrate on the cows where we've got a status of P neg. So this basically means they were negative at the last test, but they've had a positive previously. Ones to keep an eye on, therefore. And any positive ones, accept that, and I just press enter again, and that refreshes now. So now I've got a filtered list to work with for cows that I may want to, keep an eye on, certainly with those P negs that could go either way kind of thing, but they have had a positive at some stage. You've got a lot of information about those in here. So again, you could narrow your table down, untick columns equally. And this brings us nicely on to documents. So if you stumble across something like this and you think, gosh, that's a really useful table, I'm never going to find it again, I need to save that, and then I can show the farmer, take it out with me, etc. What you can do here is, again, it's a right click. So if you pick nothing else up today, right clicking is your best friend in this program. We right click on the headers and then we can add to document. Now before I do that, we can add to print job. So if you just want to print it out as a here and now thing, add to print job, comes up with a print preview, and then you can send that off to print straight away. So that's done and dusted. Add to document gives us the opportunity of creating a template for any of your herds. So if I just call this cows, unis, call it whatever you like, it's a generic template name. It's not Mr. Jones's report. This is available to anybody with their own data, of course. Practice logo, you can pop that in if you wish. Proceed. And that is the startings then of, there we go, of a, quite a nice report. It could be just that one table, or you could go further and add other things to it as you come across them. So with that in mind, we can minimize this one. So just bring that down here. Now I know that's still open, because if I hover the mouse over my InterHerd Plus icon, you can see you've got the program and you've got the printing element as well. So that document's still going, still active. I can then go maybe to, I don't know, KPIs again, this one, as an overview. And I could right click on that. So right clicking on a graph or a picture anywhere on the headings for a table or a grid. Add to document there. Yes, add to my open document. Yes, please. Then I go back into here and you'll see I've now got page 2. And you can change the order and all that sort of thing as well. So once I'm happy with my document, I can close it. It's now saved within the program. So then we can go to documents up here, preview, and there's my one there. Now I'm just going to leave that screen open for a second. So when you get back to your own InterHerd Plus, have a look, see what you've got in here. You should have quite a distinct list of the general ones now. There's been a few created lately. So if you've only got half a dozen or so, give me a shout, because I can ping you over the templates for these. And you'll see on here the newest additions. We've now got multi-herd yonis. This is what I was trying to show you at the very start, which I'm sorry it didn't work today. But what I'll do, I'll re-record that, I'll clip it and add it to the video overall, so you'll be able to see that in action. But basically in there, you can run the document for the graphs with all of your clients together, showing you the trends, either anonymous from a client meeting point of view, so you can distribute, packs with those graphs on, or with these ones, we've got names in, so this can be for your own reference tool. If you need to see which herd is which, then you can refer to that on your, on your own crib sheet, if you like. But all of these other ones, lots and lots on yonis at different aspects of that, and lots of general ones. So when you're getting going with the program, we've gone into herd structure, we've had a look at the KPIs overall. we then might want to pick up on a particular topic, such as fertility, milk, mastitis, there's lots on cell counts as well, or just a general overview. So yeah, so have a look when you get back. As I say, we can get these to you, absolutely no bother. There's a really nice one, data cleanup, which is again a good starting point looking at, and I'll just go into the managed documents so you can see the kind of questions that one asks. So managed documents allows you to tweak these templates and import new ones. So that's the import for any that I may send you. So there's my cow yonis I've created. This is the content. So it's a very straightforward list of total cows with a filter on that I've applied. So that will remember that particular filter, and the KPIs. So it could be that I want to put the KPIs at the top, so I can change the sort order there. I can delete one bit out of it, or I could delete the whole thing entirely. And we can save any changes over here. The data cleanup one, I just go into there, asks these questions, which is really good. So on this data set, have I got overdue cows for calving? You know, am I missing some data? Is there something not going on here that I should know about? Heifers that are too old, not been served. Is it because we haven't received that data? What's happening there? Do we need to tidy up of males and cows that, yeah, have been served that aren't PD'd? So some general sort of useful questions there that you can just run that little report and see what's on it and go from there. And as I say, we can help with any data issues for sure. Okay, so that's our sort of documents in principle. When you get to doing anything en masse, if you've got a lot of herds and you find yourself getting somebody in the office to press the button for every single herd, we've speeded that process up as well. So within your documents, there is a sequence here, and you can actually run a particular document for every herd on your database. So it will be the same for each one, whatever your template specifies, each one for each particular herd. But rather than having to come in here and do it 70 times, you can just send them all to run to the printer, and then that'll you know, do its own thing in its own time. So that will hopefully be quite a good time saving for you as well. Okay, so with all of these windows, you know, you can look at things side by side if you need to. That's quite a useful aspect of the program. The KPIs, the opening screen, that one doesn't maximize, but all of the others do. So if I wanted to just view, you know, you can pick up and drag these, use the middle button to make it smaller or larger accordingly, or just close as you go. So, you know, keeping things tidy, I can close that now I've finished with it, and equally that one as well. All of the menu structures are up the top here. So most of the time you'll be going into your reports. That's the key performance indicators that we've seen at the opening screen. And management reports as well is really good for your herd structure, vet list even, and even herdsman's list for, you know, very straightforward action lists like who's due to calve, who's due to PD, or the vet list for more sort of concentrated items. One of the things on here, like in the reports, is fertility analysis. And there are two key reports for fertility, really. So this one here, and depending on your default settings, you might find that it's looking at monthly, as with this one, which for certain aspects are really useful, or you might want a broader spectrum, in which case we can change our service period length. So in this box here, we can put in 12 months, 6 months, whatever you want to do, fetch the data, and then that table will refresh accordingly. So just leaving it on monthly for a moment, we can see then the most up-to-date information here. Because we're into April now, aren't we? It may be based on recording windows, and you can also show partial months here as well. So it gives us a bit more of an up-to-date view, and you can go, you know, back in time as well. So anything in the top grids here are very much the block of animals in question. Then you get to the individual detail at the bottom. So just to pick out a couple of useful parameters here, eligible for service served, you will have seen these on the KPI opening screen as well. So we know our rolling 12-month picture. this might be where you come in and look at it. You know, if it's gone downhill recently, at which point did it happen? Or are we improving equally? So it looks like these are, you know, on the up here. So this is your submission rate, essentially. And then eligible for service conceived is your preg rate. Sorry, preg rate, that one. Other ones, we've got service intervals, so heat detection. And again, they're all on the overall KPIs as well. Then if you need to drill down absolutely to individual cows, you've got all of those here with the current level of information. So do we know if they're conceived or not? Question mark. We haven't had an answer either way. We can pick out a fertility summary here. And because I've come into March, it's all quite recent. You know, we haven't got an awful lot of reliable data on here because things are just unknown. Just been served. It's far too early. So what I would do here, make this a 12 now. Just let that refresh. So now we're looking at yearly stats and our numbers shoot up. So that percentage rate there is your reliability. So we've got a known outcome for 653 of those 725 services. So it's really good, reliable data, therefore. So this is looking by month of service. Drop down box here, we can pick out all sorts of things. So you've got your day of the week, your sire, breed of animals, service numbers and all that kind of thing in there. So these you can view. There we go. So there's our day of the week one, and get an idea of your conception rates by different elements there. There is a very nice inter-service interval. So this is our heat detection. Looking quite smart on here, so mostly 18 to 24. Bit of a range there. You know, this is going up to 50 or so. But what's really good about this, in terms of where have we been, where are we going, I can just quickly dip into the previous year, and I've got a direct comparison. So slightly worse. I mean, it's not a huge. Overall conception rate has come down. But just looking at that one bar, that did drop down a little bit and the others have increased. And if you wanted to show that in a document, again, you could put them both side by side. So for the 24-25 season, right click, add to document, create a document on that, minimize it. Then I can come back into here because this screen is still open, choose the latest one, and any of these tables you could do this for. Right click again, add to the open document, and then you'll have those two graphs together side by side. So that's really, really quite nice. Okay, another element, I did mention there were two areas for fertility, so this is where we are now, fertility analysis. Cow performance is the other one by month of calving. So just breaking it down a little bit differently, it keeps the setting of the previous screen. So we're still looking at 12 months intervals. And of course you can go further back, so there's just defaults here for the last 2 years. So similar looking, actually. There's our batch at the top, the overall herd perspective, and then the individual cows at the bottom. And this table, yeah, goes to town in terms of level of information. So there's a general tab, and then we've got a fertility detail. So go into this one, and then you'll be able to pick out lots of other parameters, such as 80 days served percentage, 150-day SOB start of breeding. So if you have any block calving herds, we can enter details of when they don't serve on this one actually. So different windows per year when we're not serving cows, and then it'll have a start of breeding and a voluntary waiting period as well you can introduce in case it's not right for your herds. And again, they are per herd, so we just need to change those. Just bringing this one down to a bit more recently. There we go, put a 3 in there. Sometimes you have to press enter just to refresh. It's ticking off as I go here. There we go. Okay, so our windows are smaller, and I did that on purpose because I want to see current status here. So there's a really nice table tab, reproduction progress. Don't know if you've seen this one before. So this is just looking at those cows calving in December to February. And it's a timeline essentially. So what we have, the red arrow is up to about 90 days. So when you run this for the year, of course, a lot has been and gone. So all the cows are way over because they all fit within that window. So it's quite a nice one to do. What's the here and now for this particular cohort? So that's where they're up to. None of those cows have gone past about 90 days in milk. So we're all quite relatively recent. As soon as we start to serve cows, it builds up this yellow block here. So that asks the question, are protocols being followed? Yep. We're serving straight away, 42 days, getting into there. By 80 days, which we're just about to now, aren't we? 70% of those cows have been served. Really good. By 100 days, the green line, we're looking at just over 40% in calf. Now, anything past that red arrowhead is perspective, conjecture, what is likely to happen. So all sorts of modelling going on here to work this out for that cohort of cows based on previous history, cows in the herd, that kind of thing. So reading forward, we've got black area coming in. So these are cows that have left, if they've gone already, or are likely to leave for this cohort. You might have the odd purple area for ones that are going to become barren. And it's not naming names, it's just, you know, typical modelling for this particular batch of cows. And the blue line there reads off your 200-day knotting calf rate, again as a predicted. So if you want to know more actuals, you know, take your dates back a bit. You can look again this year, last year as a comparison to what's gone on, you know, at a timeline where you've introduced some different protocol or management practice. How has that fared for fertility either side? So all of that sort of thing you can draw out from these ones here. Okay, just conscious of time, I'm going to show you some milk recording bits as well. And then by all means, please do watch my video again and I'll get the KPI bits sorted for that as well. So apologies on that one. Into milk recordings here. And again, lots and lots of information on this one. So latest milk recording date is at the top. And you'll also see that on every screen. It's written up here anyway, latest milk recording date and event date as well. Sometimes that runs past the milk recording date because we've got data coming in now through different bits of software in real time. So that's to be expected. So again, a summary page, really useful stats, average days in milk for the herd here, your average lactation numbers, milk constituents and cell counts, what percentage over 200. I'm not going to take you through all of these now, but you can look at your cell counts in a lot more detail through that tab there. Just to pick out a couple of things, if I want to see the individual cows of that recording or any previous, go into the individual cow tab here. There we go, I was like panic there, nothing on my screen. Right, so this is in, not sure what order this is in actually, but ordering of your tables, no bother at all. If we want to look at cell count, just a left click this time onto the header, left click again, and then we're into descending order. So those, there we go, that looks more sensible, doesn't it? Those are my highest cell count cows at the top. Anything in red is over our threshold, and again you can adjust that per cow. Anything in bold red is heading usually, I think it's 250 on this one, but you can change that as well. So results of that recording, we've got, you know, protein and fat, we've got fat protein ratio, combinations of solids and so forth. Again, this table has been left expanded, but you can narrow it down and change your template. How many times they've been high this lactation. And you can always go to an individual cow. Anywhere you've got a grid with a number on it, just do a right click. In this case, a right click on the grid takes you into her record. A right click on the header is where you can add to document, count how many rows, export to Excel. So that's another really nice feature, all formatted, good to go. within here, if I go back to my averages, and you can move this up and down as well, so if we want to bring that to the center of the screen, that's a bit easier to see. So summarizing that recording in terms of stage of lactation, so how many cows that equates to, there's various figures in here, CFEXP compared to expected. So how are those different cohorts of cows performing for milk, fat and protein according to expected figures? So we'll have some nice comparisons here. Most of these are down actually, which is interesting. So a few minuses going on. Summarised by, we can break that down into month of calving. And then it might be that you can, find a particular area where we've really shot off the page. There's only actually one cow in there. That figure stands out, but it's just one cow that calved back in March, so possibly nothing too sinister. So with these figures, again, it's a right click. Have a look at November lactation graph. So these are the cows calving in November. All of those recordings in their lactation, so you've got your monthly figures there. The blue line is their actual lactation curve, which is pretty much conforming to expected, which is the black line. So that's looking quite tidy actually. We can then see, so we've got, a variation there from the average. There is one cow down here. Now if I left click, you see those ones have changed to black. That is one individual animal. So that particular cow has underachieved compared to her herd mates quite significantly, really. A drag over the box will identify who she is. And then if I double click on her number, we can go and check her out individually. And you can also, go straight into here. If you need this level of detail, it's all in there, absolutely, just through data animals register. You can look up any cow then in sequence. So all of her history is here. She's a heifer anyway. I've got a graph in here. We can see, Yoni's results interspersed with everything else. Nothing untoward there particularly. And then this graph will show you her own lactation curve. Let's open it in a new window. There we go. So compared to self, compared to the herd average, that's the yellow. Actually not too bad there. It's just maybe, for her particular calving pattern cows, not so good for whatever reason. So yeah, we just close that one. We go back, close the bottom X on there, and then you're back on your graph if you want to dig around any more. And there's just one other thing on here as well. If I close that graph, I'm back to my milk recordings. And we've got changes here. Possibly quite overlooked this one, because for those of you that are old school, like me, old InterHerd had a lovely section called Herd Production Trends, which I know a lot of you really cared about. And this bit in here does replicate that quite well. So if you're looking for 3 monthly trends for different aspects, it's all in here. There we go. So for all the herd, we've got milk, protein and fat, so different tabs up here. And then the last 3 recordings. So you can kind of see, where cows have gone for the last 3 months. There's the percentage change. You don't have to work it out. You can just sort by. There we go. Now actually in this case we want to sort the other way around, don't we? So ignoring any blanks potentially, I could also use my filter. So if I do greater than minus 50, there we are. So just cutting out the gaps there, we can actually see then your worst offenders. So those cows that have dropped their milk yield have changed by the most. And you can see it in the figures also. So 33 down to 18, drop of 45. Days in milk is here. That's where she is now. She is actually pregnant. So, are we worried or not? We could be naturally drying off, or it could be you could then filter out on days in milk actually. So we could say, right, we want to see the biggest changes, the biggest drops. but anything that's over 200 days we're not too concerned with. So let's say less than 200, and I've got a set of these formulae, if you like. If you need help with these, just let me know. But yeah, less than, greater than, equal to, between, we can do all sorts of things like that. So these cows, we're now getting to real information. They're under 200 days in milk, the milk yield has dropped, it's the whole herd, what's going on here. So this would be your action list to discuss maybe with Mr. Farmer. And again, or Mrs. Farmer equally, right click, add to document maybe, and then you've got that for any, now I might need to check that one actually, but because it may be date specific, but you can add it as a document anyway, and then just run it each time. Sometimes things are sort of driven on the date, but you could certainly, or just pop it into Excel and then you've got that to take away with you as you need to. But yeah, it's got your cell counts in there. You can look at your fat and protein in exactly the same way. It's a really useful table that hopefully brings the good old InterHerd stuff through as well. Lovely. So that's about my half an hour done. I will, as I say, get the KPIs for you so you can see how that actually works. Happy to answer any questions. Now I'll keep the screen on. I've got my question pane up here in my other screen. So if you want to put something in the Q&A, thank you all very much, and do feedback if there's anything else you'd like to see, suggested topics on any software, frankly, or Herd Companion, do let me know. Thank you and have a very good afternoon. Bye-bye for now.